Welcome to Sevier Heights. If it's your first time with us online, we're so glad you dropped by. And if you're here to rewatch a past message, you're in the right place. If you have any questions about service times, giving, next steps, or if you want to learn more about who we are, click the link in our description or just visit sevierheights.org. Thanks so much for being here. Let's jump into Sunday's message.
Well, as we close out this series today, I want to begin with a question that will shape today, but it's also going to shape past today for parents in particular. The question is this: what am I doing to enhance my child's relationship with me? Now, as you see that question, it's going to be kind of front and center right now. It's going to be front and center throughout the message, but my prayer is that you think about your children, your kids, wherever they are in the process, and this is something that you stay engaged with. Now, if you're not a parent, you're in the room, I think today, the way we are going to examine this topic is probably going to be eye-opening for you as well, because you can see a lot of this play out in the relationship that you have or the relationship that you had with your parents. And there's some temptations that we all have when it comes to leading as parents that you're going to find don't work as well as we thought they would, all right? I want to begin and talk to all the adults in the room. And on behalf of this relationship with our children, I think we don't understand that the relationship that we have, like the health of it, the depth of it, the quality of it, has more to do with their future than we can imagine. Understand that for every adult that's in this room, there are three things that kind of have shaped the way that you are, the person you are today. Number one is the relationships that you've had. Immediately, you can probably start thinking of names and faces throughout your life, all right? Number two is the choices that you've made. Some good, some not so good, but they've played a part in who you are today. And number three is the experiences that you've gone through. So you look at those three things in particular, and you're like, yeah, for the most part, that's played the sum total of who I am. Now, understand when it comes to the choices that we've made and the experiences that we've gone through, ultimately, they're really tied to the relationships that we have. Because out of those relationships, those things typically fall. And there's a real sense in which we look at these three relationships that every adult in this room, every person in this room goes through. Number one is our relationship with God. Number two, our relationship with others. And number three, our relationship with our parents. Now, we could say relationship or the lack thereof. Meaning, today, whether or not you've given it much thought, I want you to consider this. Your parents have played a significant role in all of those things that we just discussed. Meaning, whether or not you're aware of this, your parents kind of had three relational dials in front of them. One dial was a relationship dial with them, another our relationship with God, and another was a relationship with others. And our parents could dial them in and dial them out, dial them up, dial them down, whether or not they were aware of it. Because of our age, because we were their children, periodically those things would get adjusted. And some of that was hinging on them. So let's say they could turn us up as parents, our relationship with them, or turn us down because they were an absentee parent. You kind of see the extremes of this. Or how we would relate with God. Meaning if you grew up in a non-Christian home, it was turned down. If it was a Christian home, then perhaps it was up, meaning they made church a priority, Jesus a priority. They talked about what it really looks like to follow him. Or how about this? Even our parents had their hand on that dial in a relationship with others. Like they could tune in, tune out certain people that they wanted in your life or not in your life. Like, believe it or not, your parents probably played a significant part in how much time you spent with your grandparents. How much time you spent, guys, with the girl next door. How much time you didn't spend with the girl next door. Like, whether or not you know it, understand our parents played a significant part on these dials concerning our relationships with them, with God, and with others. So, in a real sense, if you think back to it, it shaped who you are today. And if they could remix the things that they did earlier, perhaps some of you would have become a follower of Jesus earlier in your life. Or perhaps some of you, because of the people you're around, you wouldn't have made some decisions that you made earlier in your life. Now, that's kind of opening this whole conversation up. And what I want to let you know is there's good news with this, but there's also challenging news for this. Ready? Here we go. As parents, we have our hand on the same 3 dials. Meaning we have an opportunity ahead of us that we can dial us in with our kid or us out. We can dial God in or God out. We can dial some other people in or other people out. And that mix that we do together as parents with the relationship with our kids has a significant impact, back to those things that we talked about earlier, on the choices that our kids make and the experiences that they go through in life. So today, what I want to do, back to that question at the beginning, I want to talk about one of those 3 dials that parents have their hands on when it comes to relationship with the kids. Specifically, I want to talk about your relationship with your child. If you got multiple kids, I just want you to think about one in particular. You can think about all 3, but you'll probably hone in on one. Now, this is a challenging topic because it's parenting. By the way, that was a loud clap, but it's a challenging topic on parenting because I don't have it together. You're going to find out today, like I'm going to be vulnerable and talk about how I've blown it. But it's also challenging because of the audience. There are all different types of people represented in this room at different stages of life when it comes to parenting. You've got pregnant moms, and this is the first time, right? You got parents of newborns. You've got parents of preschoolers. Kids are in elementary school, and like you're getting worked up on same things we got worked up on, like dropping them off for the first time, distance from each other. Parents of teenagers, just curiosity. How many parents of teens in the room? Like middle school, high school? Lots. All right. You got some parents in the room, your kids are in college. Others, like they're out of college and they're single. Some, your kids are grown, married, and perhaps gone. And so there's really no way that I can speak specifically and make the most of the time on behalf of how you can do it with your preschool kid and so forth and break down all the key issues. But what I can do today and what my goal to do today is to encourage you, to motivate you, to either engage or re-engage in the health of the relationship that you have with your child. Meaning to engage or re-engage and to prioritize or reprioritize the health of the relationship with the child, because you already know it's important, right? But the reality is, there is one reason in particular that I want to talk about today that we don't give enough significance to. In fact, we overlook it. And this one reason that I want to talk about today is so compelling, regardless of what stage of life you are in as a parent, regardless of how complicated it is, regardless of how confused you are, regardless of where things are between the two of you. This one reason is so compelling that I pray this one reason will motivate and encourage you to reprioritize. Like, okay, I've stunk, we've done a terrible job, it's not worked, but to reprioritize the overall health of the mom-daughter, mom-son, dad-daughter, dad-son relationship again. So let's go back to the question that we're asking. Ready? I want you to think on this. What can I do in light of where my child currently is to enhance my relationship with them? And here's what's at stake. Ready? When it matters the most, the health of the relationship with your child will shape the weight of your influence with your child. Let's read it again. The health of the relationship with your child, you and them, will shape the weight of your influence with your child. Now, you probably don't need a verse for that. We're going to get to a verse in here in a little bit. probably already makes perfect sense, but let me kind of flip things around for you. Imagine your relationship with your parent. Let's look at it that way. The health of the relationship with your parents has shaped the weight of their influence on your life. Think about it. If you do not have a healthy relationship with your dad, okay? And let's say he left when you were young, or he picked another family and kind of an absentee father. Let's say out of the blue this afternoon, your dad called you to give you advice. How well would you listen to his advice? Well, there would probably be such an emotional wall there that you're not going to listen to your dad's advice, which gives you an idea of exactly what we're talking about. The health of the relationship with your child will shape the influence, the weight of the influence that you have with your child. Now, we could flip-flop this, okay? And there's lots of examples of this in the room. Some of you are in your 20s, your 30s, 40s, even 50s. And you have an incredible relationship with your dad, incredible relationship with your mom. As a matter of fact, like, you still want to talk to them about advice and input on certain things, probably now more than ever. And do you know why? It goes back to the overall health of the relationship. Again, the health of the relationship with your child will shape the overall weight of your influence with the child. And as parents, I think we all know this, you'll always want a position of influence with your child. That doesn't mean you always want to tell them what to do and give them advice. No, you would like a seat at their table because you've earned the seat at their table when it comes to trust to be able to give influence. And it all goes back to the overall health of the relationship. Now, here's where I want to kind of start stretching our brains, okay? Consider this. When your child first comes into the world, your influence as a parent doesn't rely on the health of the relationship. Instead, your influence relies on your size and position. Use your brain. Meaning, in other words, like, I'm bigger and I'm dad. That's how my influence gets thrown around. So let's think about it. That means I can pick them up, I can put them somewhere. I can buckle them in. I can make them eat their food. I can make them stay in their room. I can keep them from using their phone. It's the advantage of size and position. I'm bigger and I'm dad. I'm bigger and I'm mom, right? You get to use that, and that's what influences them. But there is a problem with that. Eventually, that goes away. Meaning, it has been a long time. I'm not sure if you know this. It's been a long time since my dad picked me up and sat me down in a chair and buckled me in, right? It went away a long time ago. In fact, if you were to flip it around, right now, some of us could probably do it easier on our parents than they could do it on us. Which means this: size and position have a shelf life when it comes to the overall health of a relationship with our child. Now, I want you to think about that, because here is a dynamic that we don't consider enough as parents. If you and I don't transition to a healthy relationship with our kid while we have the advantage of our size and position, we'll still be tempted to influence our child based on size and position. And when we keep trying to influence our kid with size and position, we might get what we want. But over time, the older they get, we will destroy what we're longing for the most, and that is the health of the relationship. I will tell you, I have struggled with this tremendously, and that's why you think parenting's tough. Try teaching on parenting. It is such a difficult thing. I think a lot of us have a temptation to leverage size and position much longer than it's effective. Now, I don't go around, my son is about, he's 14, my daughter's about to be 18. I don't go around saying I'm bigger and I'm dad, I'm bigger and I'm dad, and nothing like that. And I really think Jen and everybody would say I do a pretty good job with parenting, but there's a lot of times that I blow it, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But there comes a day, and I'm in that phase, when throwing around size and position does not work when it comes to influence. I might get it, but I'm eroding the relationship. Now, I don't say, like I said, well, I'm bigger and I'm dad. No, this is how I say it. Who pays for your gas? Who bought you those clothes? Who lets you live here, right? You want to play basketball? You want your friends to come over? You want money to get those shoes, right? In other words, what I'm telling them, I may not be as big as I used to be because you've grown, but I have something you don't, and it's something you need in order to get what you want. And consequently, when I do that, the quality of my relationship between me and the kids erodes. Now, there's a tragedy tied to it. When my kids need my influence the most, my kids will want it the least because the relationship's struggling. The irony? When they need your influence the most, the size and position matters the least. Like, think about some of the kids' most important decisions, your kids' most important decisions they're gonna be making, right? Who to date, who to marry, how far is too far, should I go to college, what about my degree, what college, what should I do for a living? You realize by the time they're making those decisions, your size and position as a parent, I'm bigger and I'm dad, doesn't carry the weight anymore. Matter of fact, if you throw it around, if I throw it around, we continue to lose the overall health of the relationship. Unfortunately, parents, here's what we do. We have a tendency to evaluate how we're doing as parents based on the experiences that our kids go through. And usually, if you're like me, we try to compare those experiences to what they have that I didn't have. Like, am I doing a good job as a parent? Well, I got them cars. I got them travel. I got them trips. They made this, and I didn't have those opportunities. I want you to understand, if that's your idea, if that's my idea of being a good parent, there will be a day when we would trade all of those experiences we've given to our kids for influence. And the influence that we want, like a seat at their table just to give them advice based on trust, that influence goes back to the overall health of a relationship with our child. I've done college ministry for 25, almost 30 years. And so I have seen this play out in some very difficult ways. Well-meaning parents, well-meaning kids that have had the best thing in mind. And even before college ministry, I did student ministry. And so I've watched parents try to fix this. The older their kids get, and the relationship really begins to erode. Matter of fact, let me tell you something that's eye-opening. When parents discover they're losing influence with their child as the child gets older, parents often resort to guilt, bribery, and manipulation. Some of you as adults in this room, you've seen this play out with your parents. Let's say your relationship with your parents has been on a struggle bus. And unbeknownst to you, your parents are kind of ready to work things out. They miss things. And so they decide to reach out. They make a statement to you, but you're really not motivated to kind of get back involved. And so sometimes they don't know what else to do. They use, on accident, and we will too, guilt, bribery, or manipulation. You say, what do you mean? Well, they make statements like this. We never see you anymore. We never hear from you anymore. We haven't seen the grandkids lately. When are you going to call us again? We have something for you, but you need to come over here to get it. Now, when you think about that, not trying to be funny, this is like real life. Parents have the best intentions, but does that make you feel more cherished and more loved? Or perhaps something else? Usually what happens when we hear those conversations with our parents is we think this: what can I do for my parents so I don't feel guilty? And you think about it. Guilt, the bribery, manipulation, all of those things when it comes to a relationship, it erodes a relationship. It does the exact opposite of what we would intend for. So the fact of the matter is this: for all of us in this room, there will come a day, no matter our kids' stage of life, when as parents, we would like to have a seat at their table with a position of influence because we've earned it. It's trust. And if we don't do our homework, And then we didn't pay close attention to that transitional stage where it went from I'm bigger and I'm dad to all of a sudden, nope, now it's the health of the relationship. What will happen is I will still be tempted to leverage my I'm bigger and dad card in some other creative way. And I may get them to do what I want them to do. But in so doing, it's eroded my relationship. Now, there's a verse that actually has a lot to say about this. And I took a long time to get there, but I just want us to look at this one verse. If you got your Bibles, I want you to turn to Ephesians chapter 6. The Apostle Paul's writing this. He's writing it to a church, addressing believers, and he gives specific advice to dads. Now, when you read this, the reality is this advice could be given to dads and moms. But in particular today, I want us to look at this, and we're going to see the dimension that all of us deal with right now at our current home, or all of you dealt with when you were young and you were growing up in your home. Here's what Paul says, very short. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4. Here's the first part of the verse. Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Some of you might have a translation that says that fathers, do not provoke your kids to wrath. Other translations might say, fathers, do not anger your kids. Here's what it means. Parents, do not abuse your size and position. I'm bigger, I'm dad, I'm bigger, I'm mom. To get what you want from your kids. Because in so doing, you'll exasperate them. Meaning, if you're not careful, you will abuse your position and your size and your position, meaning you will abuse like the fact that I'm bigger and I'm dad. Because the reality is this, parents, we need to understand this. You are bigger. Ready? You can always win. Ready? You can always get your way. Let's keep going. Even when you're wrong, as a parent, you can find a way to be right. And even when you're right, you can express it in a way to get them mad. So let's pick on me for a second. Oh, this sucks. All right. I could tell you ways that I've blown this. Overall, I think I do a pretty good job. But I blow it a lot too, just like everybody else. Sometimes, we laugh. Everybody thinks pastors do so good. We don't, all right? We struggle too. So my plan was I had a few options that I could give you examples on how I've blown this, but I wanted to make sure with my kids that these were okay to share, because I just don't want to make my kids as an example, but how dad blew it. And so my plan, honestly, I'm going to be candid, I was going to pay him if they let me do it, all right? Let's just shoot straight. So the plan was last night we were going to have the conversation, yesterday we were going to have the conversation, but nobody was at home at the same time. And for those of you that don't know, I'm going to shoot straight. Saturdays are hard on pastors. I'm ready throughout the week, but Saturday's the day before and I got butterflies. My family, I'm in a bad mood on Saturdays. My family says I'm PMSing. Let me tell you what it means. It's pre-message syndrome is what we refer to it to, all right? So I'm worked up on Saturdays. I needed to get some clarity for them, permission on an example of how I've blown it. But since I was going to use their name, I'm like, we'll talk about it. Well, nobody was together. Everybody was hit or miss. And it's about 10:15 last night. And my plan was going to be we're going to have a conversation about this together, bring them all in the room and so forth. Well, one of our kids, not saying any names because they're both in this room at this hour, got home later than normal, which is fine. Just wanted them to let us know they were later than normal. They didn't. And I'm in bed with Jen, and I told Jen, because it's Sunday, I don't carry the weight of arguments into Sunday. I just don't. I don't want it to happen. There's a spiritual dimension that's real there, but I just wanted to avoid it. I said, all right, Jen, this one's on you. And so I'm in bed, Jen's there, and Jen starts addressing the situation. We're not mad, just good to let us know. Well, it kind of got out of hand. And I was sitting on the side, laying on the side, trying to stay out of it, just listening. She did a terrible job. And our child's watching my interaction. And apparently, I was told that I have to tell you, by this child, I'm very immature sometimes as a parent, all right? So I did that job, I'm telling you. Apparently, I made some bad gestures while Jenny was communicating. And then I kind of laughed when my child was giving a response back. Guess what it did? It exasperated my child. Got them more angry, got them more emotional. And so how mind-blowing is this? I'm supposed to be teaching on how to do this. And then I'm about to meet with my kids about an example on how to do this, and I can't even bring up an example. And I just sit there during a kind of a disciplinary moment where my wife's doing this, and still I'm screwing up at this thing, right? That's how hard this is. And as I'm thinking about it and watching all of this play out, I'm doing exactly what Paul told us not to do. Understand, like, this is the reality of how things were going. They couldn't win. I set that child up to fail on accident. And I leveraged my size and position to put him there. Like, apparently I wasn't paying good enough attention, rolling my eyes and laughing, and exasperated things. Ready? Let me ask you a question. We see this all the time with adults. Like, when adults get in arguments with adults, and one of them speaks faster than the other one, speaks louder than the other one, is smarter than the other one, gets the last word over the other one, they exasperate the other one. What does exasperation do in relationships between adults? Now imagine what it does between the relationship of a parent and their child. No wonder Paul says, fathers, don't exasperate your kids. Like, don't provoke them to anger. He continues and he gives the opposite. Fathers, do not exasperate your kids. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Bring them up literally means nourish them. So our approach to parenting is not size and position. It's nourish them and encourage them. Meaning, if you think about it, those are relationally rich words for parents. So Paul's reminding us, look, the health of the relationship, parents, you have with your kid, it'll shape the weight of your influence with your kid. But if we're not careful, because we're bigger, taller, because we always win, if we're not careful, we can accidentally, even with our gestures, our joking, even with our smart aleck comments, we can provoke our kids to anger. And it relationally chips away what we long for the most. In the real world, we can probably make our kids, as long as they're living at the house, do whatever we want them to do. But in so doing, we lose the relationship. And when they're gone, it's really hard to get it back. And that's why Paul is saying, look, parents, if you want to do it right, you've got to make that transition from size and position to the overall health of a relationship. And understand, parents, you will always be tempted. I'm tempted all the time, especially in a disciplinary situation, to go back and to somehow tap into, I'm bigger and I'm dad. You can do it. You can get your way. But in so doing, it erodes the relationship. Let me say something real quick to parents of middle school and high school. The only reason I can say something specifically to you is because I'm in that phase right now, all right? I'm telling you this, I'm learning it the hard way, whatever. Ready? You are in the transition phase, meaning you're still a little bit bigger and you've still got money and the keys. So you're right now in this transitional phase. Even though that's true, you need to know this. I'm bigger and I'm better carries less and less leverage. You can get stuff done, but if you're not careful, it'll erode the relationship. Now, that doesn't mean you don't discipline. And that doesn't mean you financially provide for their stupidity. Doesn't mean either of that. It does mean this. I'm bigger and I'm dad. It's coming to an end. And if you continue to use it, you may get some things done, but it eats at the relationship. To which some of you might say, Tim, this won't work, and we need it to work. Otherwise, we won't be able to get them to do what we want them to do. And I want to tell you something. Guess what? That's not the goal of parenting anymore. The goal is not control. Your goal at this stage is to establish a healthy relationship with your child so that you still have godly influence. And don't forget, they're on the verge of some of the most important decisions that they're going to make. And you're going to want influence. By the way, being right doesn't mean you have influence. And I told you so doesn't matter. Sounds good, but it doesn't matter. It's all about the health of the relationship. So in light of all this, let's think, parents. What can I do? And I know this is hard. In light of where my child currently is, to enhance my relationship with them. As we close, here's what I want to do. I want to spend a little bit of time with our heads bowed and eyes closed, and I just want to talk to you. Ready? Heads bowed, eyes closed. I want to think about this. Do you know what it takes to have a great relationship with your child? The one you're thinking about? A few things. No matter their stage of life, across the board, there's a few things that kids can't ignore. Number one, your kids want to feel loved. Number two, your kids got to have your time. And number three, your kids need humility and honesty. So in the quietness of this room, let's think about it. Your kids want to feel loved. Think about it. That means we have to be so careful in the way we discipline them. I got to be so careful in how I joke with them. So careful and cautious in my conversations that I don't suddenly, accidentally reject my kids or make them feel anything less than my love. So your kids want to feel loved. Number two, your kids got to have the time. Ready? What can you do to give them more of your time? I've learned you cannot depend on quality time with your child. Quality time is totally unpredictable with kids. Instead, you need to give quantity of quality time with your kid. So what's something you can do to give them your time? Number three, your kid needs humility and honesty. So when you've blown it, own it. Learn to tell them you're sorry. Tell them how you screwed up when you were their age. And I wouldn't hold anything back. They're old enough to understand, and probably much better than you know. Now, if you're here today and you wish you'd done stuff like this 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when your kids are born, feel like it's too late, feel like you've lost influence, you feel like you've lost the health of your relationship with your child, and you just want back in, every once in a while, I bet you find yourself wanting to leverage the same thing that I do, guilt and bribery. If you're wondering today, how do I get back in? How do I regain what I've lost? I want to tell you biblically what God did for us in just a second, but I want you to consider it because I'm going to let it build. I want you to know this up front, though. There's no guarantee that you're going to get it back. You have to know that because it's up to your kids. They're adults right now. And it's on them whether or not they're going to let you back in. But I can tell you your best bet. It may not make much sense to you, but if you think about it, the best way you can get back in is to thoughtfully serve your way back in. You can't bribe your way back in. You can't manipulate your way back in. You can't guilt your way back in. If you want a genuine relationship with someone in the family that shut you out, only one way back in. I think to thoughtfully serve them. And you can say, but Tim, I've done it for 18 years. I've done it for 20 years, 30 years. I know, I'm not saying it's fair. I'm saying the only way to get them to crack the door to let you back in is perhaps to thoughtfully and creatively find a way to serve them and to serve your way back in. Because it's very difficult to keep the door closed to someone in your family who thoughtfully serves you. Because there's obviously no apparent motive other than genuine love. And that's why no matter where you are, would you consider to re-engage? no matter how far the kids live, no matter how old they are, no matter what's happened. Wherever you are today, could you ask the question, what can I do now to enhance the relationship with my kid? And not, I'm bigger and I'm dad. No, how can I thoughtfully serve my way back into their life? Heavenly Father, for some of us, this is encouraging. We're glad that we hear it. For others, it's perplexing. Maybe for some, it's disappointing because we feel it's too late. Would you give us wisdom to know what to do with what we've just read? Father, for those who feel like they're out, give them the self-control they need to slowly begin to thoughtfully serve. And to know if there's never a change, that we can have confidence at this stage of our life, we've done exactly what you want us to do to regain a place in the hearts of our kids. And Father, thank you for modeling this for us. You sent your Son into the world not to be served, but to serve and to give your life as a ransom for many. And it won us as your children over. So God, for those right in the middle, still trying to figure it out, help us engage with each of our uniquely gifted kids at their level with a deep relationship. And God, today, I pray as we finish that we would realize one of the most fascinating things about you is that you told us how to talk with you and how to approach you as a heavenly Father. There's a lot to that. And I pray this today in Jesus' name.
Let's stand and sing. I remember how you provided, how you held me through the night. And I remember how you sustained me when you stepped in to save my life. If I knew then what I know now, I would be still and let you work it out. Sing Jesus. Jesus, I was tossed in the water, but I never went under. You were always on time. Jesus, when I went through the fire, you were right there beside me. You were always on time. I remember how you carried when I couldn't take a step. And I remember, oh, how you loved me when I couldn't love myself. Jesus, I was tossed in the water, but I never went under. You were always on time. Jesus, when I went through the fire, you were right there beside me. You were always on time. Come on, he sees you this morning, so we sing. There's never